East Sussex, southeast accounts of corporal punishment given at school. Bexhill, Downs, secondary, Bexhill. Jan, B. 1958, slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1969 to 1974. Sarah, B. 1958, slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1969 to 1975. Kim, B. 1961, slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1972 to 1977. Teresa, B. 1962, slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1973 to 1978. Rosemary, B. 1967, slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1978 to 1983. Clavering, secondary, Battle. Sue, B. 1952, slipper across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1963 to 1967. Margaret Hardy, girls' secondary, Brighton. Jenny, B. 1951, Cane, across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1962 to 1966. Angie, B. 1959, hand across legs by female teacher, 1970 to 1975. Tracy, B. 1968, cane across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1979 to 1984. Ratton, secondary, Eastbourne. Mary, B. 1962, slipper across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1973 to 1978. Danny, B. 1967, slipper across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1978 to 1983. The Cavendish, secondary, Eastbourne. Karen, B. 1959, cane and slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1970 to 1975. The Grove, secondary, St Leonard's. Helen, B. 1961, slipper across bottom by male teacher, 1976. Kim, B. 1961, slipper across unspecified anatomy by male teacher, 1972 to 1977. Michelle, B. 1970, cane across unspecified anatomy by unnamed teacher, 1981 to 1986. Uckfield, secondary, Uckfield. Babs, B. 1946, slipper across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1957 to 1961. Kathy, B. 1952, cane across unspecified anatomy by female teacher, 1963 to 1967. May or may not be relevant, but many years ago when I was a fit 20-something, and on vacation in Spain, I had a holiday liaison with a young lady from St Leonard's-on-Sea. She admitted being slippered on the bottom by a male teacher at school more than once. I recollect her saying she was 15 at the time, would put the era as early, mid-60s. That lady, if still alive, would be 75 plus, and probably, like many others of her generation, probably not disposed to be very internet active, although there will always be the exception like Babs born 1946. Accordingly, I suspect many instances of SCP involving the boomer generation are not being shared, and this may be particularly true of the somewhat conservative East Sussex. I note with interest the slipperings by a male teacher at Bexhill. Would be most surprised if these were not on the bottom. Would I be correct in assuming it was the same teacher in each instance? In reference to Karen receiving both the cane and the slipper at the Cavendish Secondary School in Eastbourne, she doesn't give much away. She merely states that Chalky found it irritating, the slipper did not affect me at all. He tried the cane, equally ineffective, and gave up. I totally agree that there are vast amounts of the early boomer generation that are not too active on the internet. Regarding East Sussex, despite it being more conservative, I would have thought that the more populated areas of Brighton, Eastbourne and Hastings would have yielded more accounts. Maybe I've not looked hard enough. Regarding the slipperings by a male teacher at Bexhill Secondary, I can confirm that it was the same teacher, Mr. Fred Rye. And despite of this, he appears to have been very popular by his former pupils, include those who he slippered.